against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Laura.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, cover breaking news, culture, manic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most watched daily Bitcoin live show on YouTube, Rumble, and X, Simply Bitcoin. Strap yourselves in because it's going to be a hell of a show. We like to do this topic every once in a while, and you guys love it. Apparently, you guys really like this topic for some reason, so we like to revisit it every once in a while, especially with the new viewers coming in, new viewers of the Simply Bitcoin channel. And of course, it seems like the live stream on X is becoming incredibly popular. It seems like Elon's pushing that. So today we're going to talk about the topic: how much Bitcoin do you need to be in the 1% of Bitcoin holders? There's so many different type of outlooks on this, right? There's so, because no one knows. Like you could see like how much Bitcoin is in certain address. So there's a variety of different reports that kind of come to a number. There's a consensus to it. But what I will tell you is that I love this data point, right? There is roughly 50 to 60 million millionaires all around the world, but there's only 21 million Bitcoin, of which 4 million are estimated to be lost, right? So even if every millionaire around planet Earth wanted to buy one Bitcoin, they physically couldn't. That's how absolutely scarce this thing is. And currently, the acquisition cost is a little bit higher, right? It's a little bit higher, but it's $69,000. And, I think what I've been seeing from Bitcoin Twitter is that by the day, more whole coiners are minted. So it's definitely a step in the right direction. So we're going to cover all that. We're going to pull up all the graphs. We'll show you all the different reports, all the variety of the different reports. There's memes in there that also kind of show the same thing. And we'll have a conversation about it. Look, I think I love the Jack Mallers and kind of American hodl take on this, which is like, look, like, Bitcoin, not only is it a humility test, it's also an ego test, right? Like, sure, there are people that got in earlier than you, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that you're not going to benefit just as much as they are, right? They might have a bigger stack, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't get on a Bitcoin standard either. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't benefit from it. You know, if Michael Saylor's right and this thing is going up forever, Laura, and it's infinity divided by 21 million, I think when everything is said and done, I think you will live a very, very good life if you start stacking today, if you start taking a portion of your income into and putting it into Bitcoin. All of that being said, as well as stacking sats, you also got to stack friends who stack sats. We have a very special guest to talk about that with today. And also, it seems like Dave Portnoy, he just continues to go down this, like, I think this rabbit hole of and going back to the humility aspect of it, right? Which is like, there's OGs that, got in there buying Bitcoin at $1, buying Bitcoin at $100. And Dave Portnoy is like, man, I hate those guys. How could they do that? And then, of course, the Chad Saylor responded. So we have that video for you guys to play in the beginning. And also, we have, I consider him a friend. We have Brian DeMint. He is the marketing guru. I don't think that's his official title, but I'm totally going to use it anyways. He's the marketing genius behind the Orange Pill app and the author of Bitcoin Evangelism, which we've been promoting on Simply Bitcoin Live for a while now. Planting seeds for decentralized revolution. Arm yourselves with the tool to orange pill people, and his new book, which I'm super hyped about because I got a signed copy. I waited for Brian. I was like going to leave the Bitcoin Atlantis conference because I was exhausted. And I waited for Brian because I wanted to get it signed, and he signed it for me. And I got copy 17 out of, I think it says 60. So his new book, Parallel, the Bitcoin Social Layer. So really excited to talk about all that today. No more delay. Let me bring up my secondary co-host. He is wearing the Take Me Higher Creed shirt. I don't know where he got that, but Opti, and it's Friday, so it's Opti's
for the memes.
Meme Review Friday. We're gonna have two meme reviews on the same week. I hope everyone in the live chat is hyped. And of course, no more delay. Let's bring up Brian. Brian, welcome to Simply Bitcoin. Welcome back.
Wow, look at him. What a scholar.
What a scholar. He's reading.
Oh, what's up, gentlemen? How you guys doing? Sorry there. Just knee deep in a book.
Oh, man.
All right. That was a good one. Yeah, man, guys, good to be on. Freaking love this topic. I'm one of the marks for this topic. Like when people are like, how much Bitcoin do you need? I'm like, I'm in. Let's talk for an hour and a half about this. So let's freaking go. It's Friday. We're talking about our bags. I love it.
Yeah, man. And also let's talk about I'm gonna make the announcement. It's not official, ladies and gentlemen. We are partnering up with the Orange Pill app starting on Monday. It's important that you stack friends who stack sats. I was just talking about this with Brian before we went live. You go to a city, you're traveling, you have nobody, you don't know anybody there. And here's the thing, people still on a fiat standard, they think differently than you, right? You gotta think, you gotta stack friends who stack sats because they're thinking about life and they're looking at the world through the orange lens, right? So, that's what the Orange Pill app does. It connects you with other Bitcoiners. And Brian was telling me a story that recently just happened, but I think the story for me is always having the founder and CEO reaching out to me. We don't know each other. And I'm like, dude, just stay on my couch. Never saw his face. But that's the power of the Orange Pill app. So we're going to talk about the Orange Pill app. We're going to talk about Brian's new book, Parallel the Bitcoin Social Layer. It's going to be a great show. And Opti is going to have his meme review. So it's going to be absolutely epic. Anyways, before we start the show, I do want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor. And of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. It's a publicly traded company coming out of Canada that recently expanded to all 50 US states. They're on a mission to make self-custody the standard. And the reason I call it automatic self-custody is you can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well unless you're going to take self-custody, which perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state. After all, self-custody is the revolution. I also do want to give a shout out to the Bitcoin Jackpot Contest. It's currently live. Go to bitcoinwell.com/contest, or you could scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly there. The jackpot is currently, that number isn't updated. It's at 3.51 million Satoshis. Every time you stack sats or buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn points. You throw that into the jackpot and you have an opportunity to win 3.51 million Satoshis. We've also been giving away prizes over the last couple of weeks, like a passport by Foundation Devices, a book by Seb Bunny, some seed plates as well. So stay tuned. We'll be giving away more giveaways from Bitcoin Well. Guys, check out bitcoinwell.com today. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I made it incredibly easy for you guys. You could scan the QR code on your screen, use the promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the Stamp Seed store. Anyways, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is literally 69,420. I'm not, that is absolutely hilarious. Sats per dollar. Wow, I literally could not have timed that. What are the chances of that, man? Oh, man, it just changed. Okay, sats per dollar, 1,440. Block height, 836,817. Blocks 2 having 3,183. Having estimate April 20th, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity 4,338 Bitcoin. Capacity value $304 million US dollars, realized monetary inflation 1.73%, the market capitalization of Bitcoin 1.37 trillion, Bitcoin versus gold market cap 9.88%. In the grand scheme of things, we are just getting started. Anyways, this is the video that I wanted to watch with you guys. Michael Saylor responded and everything. And I mean, look, I'm gonna say the saying, which is everyone buys Bitcoin at the price they deserve, right? Like, yes, there are people, there are OGs. I'm not in this category whatsoever. I'm class of 2016, but there are OGs of classes of 2011 and 2013 that got Bitcoin at, you know, under $100 or $100 or a couple $100. What I gotta say is, like, at the time, they didn't know that it was going to be worth $70,000. A lot of those OGs ended up selling early, right? They ended up selling at a couple $1,000s, right? The whole HODL thing, the Bitcoin standard didn't exist, right? So like a lot of the things that like make it easy, like it points to Bitcoin being incredibly obvious to hold and never sell. A lot of those things didn't exist back then. Back then, there weren't even good hardware wallets. Like like people were still using paper wallets and stuff. Like there wasn't even a good place to buy Bitcoin. Mt. Gox, which was like the de facto quote unquote Bitcoin exchange, rugged everybody, right? So like it's a lot of things to like keep in mind. Like it wasn't as simple as like, oh, it's 2013, let me buy Bitcoin, let me pick out of like, you know, a dozen on-ramps that I can, you know, choose and feel like I could use that. Like none of that existed. So I think in hindsight it's very easy to kind of, oh, it was so obvious, right? So anyways, here's Dave Portnoy. He's saying some things about how he resents the early Bitcoin OGs. And I think it's hilarious. So check it out.
Bitcoin, like I said, I think is at 70,000, 71,000 in rising. 71,000. It's up like 2% in the last 5 seconds since I looked. Just a rocket ship. We're going to have the Bitcoin. We're going to have the Bitcoin billionaires out in force, outbidding you for houses, boats, stealing your women. Going to be like, how'd you make your money? I bought Bitcoin. And by the way, last time I said how I get infuriated, how nobody's make money on Bitcoin, I had a lot of people being like, oh, shut up. A couple people, Michael Saylor, who I think is like, for me, you got obviously the Winklevosses who bought it early. But Michael Saylor is somebody, and I've never met him, I don't think. The Microsystems, is that the company? Michael Saylor's not the kid. That guy, Michael Saylor, has put his nuts on the line for Bitcoin. He made money other places, took his money and bought Bitcoin. Smart. A+. That would be like if I took all my money and bought Bitcoin. I'm talking about the people who did nothing, who are like from Better Off Dead movies from the 80s, working in VCR stores, smoking cigarettes, Marlboro Reds, and bought Bitcoin and did nothing. Good for them. And now they're rich and they're riding their Ferraris and their Lambos, but they didn't do nothing. That's who I'm talking about when I'm saying like, oh, these guys just nothing but bought Bitcoin at like $1 and now it's 70,000 and they're fucking bazillionaires. I respect the Michael Saylors, the fuck out of them. The guys who put their nuts on the lines, like they made money and then invested in Bitcoin. That guy held when it was crashing and didn't waver. So different. I'm talking about fucking 16 Candles, 80s movies. Fucking the Bitcoin license plate. People who have just like smoking weed, getting fucking loaded on Bitcoin. Good for them. But I hate you.
All right. So a couple things, right? It sounds like he's talking about shitcoiners, right? I think Bitcoiners in general, maybe I'm speaking about myself, but like maybe it's because I live in Miami, the most fiat fucking city on the face of the planet. But like, dude, like buying a Lambo, imagine selling your precious Satoshis and buying a Lambo. I mean, look, you got to do what you got to do. If that's what floats your boat and, you know, Lambos make you happy, I think it's an overrated car, to be honest. Teslas are dope. I mean, I think it's unpopular.
Ferraris are way cooler.
See, Opti's a Ferrari guy, a gold Ferrari. But yeah, I mean, look, I feel like maybe like I just personally, I've never seen a Bitcoiner with that type of high, and I know Bitcoiners that are class of 2013, you know, and they are still using phones that are cracked and, you know, they live well below their means. I think, you know, that's essentially like kind of like the Bitcoin mentality, right? That's not to say if you want to buy a Ferrari, okay, whatever floats your boat. It just feels like he's talking about altcoiners. That's number one. Number two, Dave Portnoy is worth $100 million, right? So if he took, 20, 30, 40%, I know that's intense. I know that's hardcore. But if he took a percentage of his net worth and put it into Bitcoin right now, in 10 years, he has his chance at becoming worth $500 million or, basically, 10xing his wealth, right? So, I mean, but you got to take action, right? You got to eat your humble pie instead of looking at the past, look at the present, right? Look at what you can do for the future. Anyways, Michael Saylor responded, the rules are simple to remember, but hard to follow. Buy Bitcoin. Don't sell the Bitcoin. We need you on Team Bitcoin, Dave. Next time you're in Miami, DM me and we can discuss this one-on-one. So, I mean, I want to get your guys' thoughts. What do you think? I think Dave Portnoy is in the process of getting orange pilled. I think he's close, but he isn't quite there yet. I'm going to start with you, Brian. What do you think?
I mean, Dave's done everything wrong at every step of the process. I don't know what else to say. And he's doing it wrong right now because maybe he's about to get orange pilled and maybe he will do it the right way. But mark this, somebody clip this right now, just as the prediction. In 3 years, we're going to see the same thing. Man, why didn't I buy it at 71,000 when I was griping about it? We're going to see the same process happen over again. And he's going to be pissed at the people who bought it under 50,000. That's how this guy's been operating. And like you said, he did it in the order that I think a lot of us did it. If you were in Bitcoin pre-2016, you tended to get into Bitcoin, then you went through your altcoin phase during the ICO thing. And then once you saw ICOs blow up, that's when the really strong Bitcoin only signal kind of emerged. And so unfortunately, he didn't have his Bitcoin only phase at the beginning. He went right in with the Winklevoss twins, where they did actually, I think, only tell him to buy Bitcoin. But obviously they're big proponents of Ethereum. So he kind of started with that altcoiny kind of mentality. I think what you were alluding to. So that's the culture that he's seen. You're right. Bitcoiners aren't out there buying Lambos or anything lavish. The things that we buy, if we do buy it with our Bitcoin, are things that you don't see. It's like an underground bunker in case the nuclear fallout happens, or we buy our meats from a regenerative farmer 4 states away, or it's like an RV to travel around with our family. You would never see or notice the things that Bitcoiners use their Bitcoin to buy. And it's not the difference is when people buy things with their altcoins, they cash them out for fiat and then go buy something at the car dealership. The only time guys like me or Bitcoiners that I know actually buy stuff with their Bitcoin, they will only actually spend the Bitcoin, and then they'll probably go and replace it and convert fiat back into Bitcoin. But it's we look for places okay, I'll make a purchase right now because 1, it provides me some utility, and 2, the guy's going to accept actual Bitcoin for it. This guy's doing everything in the wrong order and kind of looking down the wrong alleyways. Hopefully he does go out to Miami. Hopefully he does sit with Saylor and get orange pilled. But Portnoy's in it for the action. You watch any of his videos and he's like, oh, I need the juice, man. I need to get pumped. Those days are so rare with Bitcoin. They feel great when they're happening, but guys that need the constant juice, they have a hard time riding the downside, and you have to have such thick skin to be in Bitcoin. So I don't know if his personality necessarily has what it takes. I hope and pray for him that he does. I think it's better for everybody if he does, but I don't know if that suits his personality well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. He's a fiat if you were to look up fiat and it was a person, I feel like Dave Portnoy would be very at the very top of that list. He's the embodiment of it, because again, people project, right? In his mind, he's man, if I had billions of dollars, I would get a fucking Lambo, right? Look, and I've seen this 1,000 times, and I know fucking whales, man. You would never tell. You could never tell just by looking at them. You cannot tell that they have, stacks. They're still driving, it's good cars, right? It's safe cars, right? Safety, and it's sturdy, and it's whatever. But they're the bling and the flash. I mean, for me, from an OPSEC perspective, that's a no-go, right? Anyways, Opti, I know that you are more on the Portnoy side. I've seen, we've showed a picture of you. What happens? You actually tweeted this out of the famous saying in Bitcoin, right? It's like, there will be signs, and it's essentially a guy with his shirt off in the savannah with a gun and a leopard and a gold chain. So you're on the Portnoy side, Opti. When are you going to get your gold Ferrari? What price?
Once gold gets demonetized. But you know, on one hand, I do respect Portnoy as someone that built a media company. You know, shouts out to him. Barstool Sports it's a huge company, so like I respect him as a hard worker and someone that built basically a media empire. So, you know, shouts out to him on that front. But on the Bitcoin front, man, he just doesn't get it. And one of the first things that I was kind of thinking when we saw that video is that Bitcoin is being de-risked in real time. Like, holding fiat is the real risk. Like, you're not here to make money in Bitcoin. Like, the goal is not to trade Bitcoin for more fiat. It's to save your labor, save your time, save your value in Bitcoin. Literally just save the hardest money ever made. That's the goal here. It's to leave the fiat world behind, realize that you are holding melting ice cubes, that the dollar is literally stealing your life force from you. That is the goal here, and realizing that Bitcoin is a better way. And then to the whole idea of like, oh, you know, Bitcoiners did nothing. Like, Bitcoiners put their capital on the line. Like, we worked our normie jobs and stacked sats when everyone else was calling us idiots. Like Brian was saying, you know, we have thick skin because we saw the game being played. We understand the monetary games being played. We understand, you know, some basic Austrian economics, and realize that you do not want to spend the hardest money ever known. And you can tell that Dave hasn't gone down that path yet. He's still in the kind of like gambler, shitcoin casino route. Like Brian was saying, you know, he needs that dopamine. Davey Day Trader Portnoy needs the dopamine of like logging in the morning, looking at the charts, and then seeing his net worth go up. Like, he needs that dopamine to feel like he is doing something, quote unquote. And then also, guys, like, don't ever let anyone tell you that you got lucky getting into Bitcoin. Like I started this rant about. Now it's like 2020 is hindsight. Now it's becoming very, I don't know, very kosher to be like, oh yeah, you knew to save in Bitcoin when it was at 3K. You know, when it dumped in March 2020 and went to 3K, it was so easy to just throw your net worth into Bitcoin when Bitcoin was 1K at Mt. Gox to all the OGs out there and held Bitcoin for 2 years while it got nuked to $100, $200. Like, it's so easy to look back in hindsight and be like, oh, those Bitcoiners, they got lucky. They, you know, all they did was sit back and smoke weed. And while I'm not saying that a lot of Bitcoiners didn't just sit back and smoke weed, you still had to understand that what is going on. Like, you still had to understand the network. And and the point I'm trying to get to is now it's becoming very easy to say that, oh, you know, obviously you should have bought Bitcoin at 10K, 20K, 5K, 1K, because it's getting de-risked in real time. And it's becoming very, you know, it's becoming part of the popular consciousness right now. Like, Bitcoin is 15 years old. I think everyone and their mother has at least heard about Bitcoin one time. Maybe they're not Bitcoiners yet, but they've heard about Bitcoin. You know, it's becoming part of the popular conversation. It's on television. It's on all of the corporate press. It's all over social media. You know, we got Bitcoin tickers on TradFi news networks. And so it's becoming very easy to say that, like, oh, yeah, I should have bought it back then. But if you ask the OGs that have been around Bitcoin for a long time, like, no one knew what the hell they were doing. They just saw the opportunity of Bitcoin. They hodled, they learned. And in time, you look back and you're like, man, that's the best decision I ever made in my life. So Dave still doesn't get what this is about. Like, you know, I respect him as an entrepreneur and someone that's built a media company, but you can just tell that he fully doesn't understand what the game is. And really, this kind of goes to something that Nico and I have been saying, and I think it was when Svetsky came on last week that we talked about it again. It's the idea that Bitcoiners, like, this is a precursor to the idea that Bitcoiners are going to get hated on, and maybe mentally prepare yourself for the idea that, like, instead of looking at Bitcoiners and being like, oh, he's successful, I want to see how he's able to do what he does, they're going to point and sputter and be like, oh, you got lucky, you didn't earn any of this, when you guys put in the hours. You put your own capital on the line. You put your own reputation on the line by talking about Bitcoin to everyone that would listen, or rather everyone that wouldn't listen to you. And now in hindsight, it's going to become easy to make Bitcoiners the scapegoat. We've already seen Elizabeth Warren and Jamie Dimons of the world basically blame Bitcoin for the fiat systems problems. And you're seeing that this is, for lack of a better term, like a precursor of what might come in the future, that Bitcoiners are going to get blamed for understanding the monetary games going on and putting your money where your mouth is and putting your capital on the line and saving in Bitcoin while everyone is calling you dumb. So, I mean, it's just something that is like, I try to be silver lining here, but I'm seeing the writing on the wall, and we're going to get blamed for a lot of things moving forward. And this is the importance of continuing to double down on the memes and, of course, stacking sats and taking Bitcoin into custody.
Bro, Opti's wearing the Creed shirt, and he's
you take me higher?
He's taking us higher right now, bro. Dropping the fire. Anyways, guys, if you want to support the show, check out our new merch drop. We teamed up with the Bitcoin artist Asanoa, and we have all these different type of designs. We have the Peaceful Bitcoin Revolution Guy Fawkes mask. We have the gold Bitcoin pill. We have the gold Bitcoin snapback, the gold Bitcoin dad hat. We have the woman's Peaceful Revolution tank. We got the woman's Bitcoin pill tank. If you guys want to support the show, make sure to scan the QR code or check the link in the video description, but make sure you stack sats first. That's number one. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the news. We have a lot to talk about. Let's check it out. Here we go.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I made it incredibly easy for you guys. You can scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you directly to the Foundation Devices website. You can get yourself a Passport hardware wallet, completely open source, incredibly easy for you to use, and you can pair it up with the Envoy app. Scan the QR code or check the link in the video description. Anyways, quick ETF update. MicroStrategy, I mean, it's not an ETF, but public company and ETF update. MicroStrategy currently holds 214,000 Bitcoin. Michael Saylor officially owns 1% of every Bitcoin, and I think he's definitely going to buy more. The Grayscale Trust continues to just dump. People are just getting rid of Grayscale. They have 335,000 Bitcoin. The BlackRock ETF currently holds, or the iShares Bitcoin Trust currently holds 252,000 Bitcoin. Fidelity 143,000. Seemed like the BlackRock one and the Fidelity one have been going a little bit sideways. Anyways, before we get into the meat of today's show, guys, if you're enjoying the show, make sure to smash that like button. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on X, press the little heart, and on Rumble, how many of you guys? The 44 of you guys watching us on Rumble right
doesn't
now.
have algos, but like the video anyways.
Just like the video. There's 1,015 of you guys watching live between YouTube and X, so just smash the like button. Really, really helps with the algos and pushes it forward. But apparently, Opti says there's no. I
don't think there's an algo on Rumble, but like the video anyways.
Like the video anyways, it helps. Okay. Anyways, so I do wanted to get into the meat of today's video. So, how much Bitcoin do you need to be in the top 1% of Bitcoin holders? There's a bunch of kind of like different studies for this. This is like the one that I found the most I don't know. I don't want to say reputable, but the one that I guess makes a little bit the most sense, right? So if you want to be in the top 10% of Bitcoin holders, you need 1.28 Bitcoin. If If you want to be in the top 5%, you need 3.99 Bitcoin. If you want to be in the top 2%, you need 10.56 Bitcoin. If you want to be in the top 1%, you need 15 Bitcoin. If you want to be in the top 1% of the 1%, you need 89 Bitcoin. If you want to be in the top 0.03%, you need at least 215 Bitcoin. If you want to be in the top 0.01%, you need 433 Bitcoin. If you want to be in the top 0.003%, you need at least 2,189 Bitcoin. If you want to be in the top 0.001%, you need a minimum of 7,021 Bitcoin. Now, what's really interesting is the number of holders for these classes. So the very top, there's only about 250 Bitcoin owners, according to this research, that have a minimum of 7,000 Bitcoin. In the top 0.003%, there's only about 500 Bitcoin owners that own a minimum of 2,189 Bitcoin. In the top 0.01%, which is a minimum of 433 Bitcoin, there's only about 1,750 Bitcoin owners that fit into that category. In the 215 Bitcoin, there's only about 5,000 holders, a lot smaller than what I originally thought. There's only about 5,000 people that fit into that category. To be in the top 0.1%, which is 89 Bitcoin, there's only about 17,500. That's like the size of an NBA stadium that's completely filled up. And to be in the 1%, there's about 225,000 people that fit into that category. And again, you need about 15 Bitcoin to fit in there. All right, moving on. I know Opti likes memes, and it is Meme Review Friday.
Wait, Nico, before we do that, how did they get those statistics? Were those UTXOs or like addresses?
They just did a study, man. They did a study, and because, no one knows for sure, right, that this is the numbers that they came up with. Now, the reason that I don't want to just focus on one study exactly is because no one knows what exactly
it's
is
a feature, not
numbers,
a bug,
right? So this is what they came up with. Mind you, they came up with the study back in 2017. So I'm sure that the minimum wealth required has actually gone down a little bit. And I'm sure that these numbers have actually either gone down, and then I would say maybe the 1% group has gotten higher, if anything. So I'm sure it's shifted a little bit, but this is one of the, best kind of studies I've found in terms of the research aspect of it. Now, to the meme side of it, because it is Opti's Meme Review Friday, this is the Citadel kind of castle, and it's kind of very similar in a way to this, right? And this is a pattern that I've started to notice across a lot of these things that I've found, right? Is that the amount in terms of what is like the ultimate Bitcoin goal stack is about roughly 100 Bitcoin. What I've noticed across these these memes, these little kind of research documents. I'm going to show you one from Glassnode in a little bit. But this one I think is absolutely hilarious, and it is Friday. So at the very bottom, we have the no coiner. And then above that, it's the 0.0001. Above that is the 0.001. Above that is the 0.01. Then it's the 0.1. Then it's so funny because there's a Lambo. And it's the suicide stack. And the suicide stack is the 1 Bitcoin, right? Then there's the rope, the cope, the hope. And then, it's kind of like builds like a castle, right? So there's 0.5, and then it starts to kind of do the thing. So the barons are at the 1 Bitcoin, or they call it the suicide stack. Then the lords, the break it stack is 5 Bitcoin. Then the earls, the make it stack, right? It's between 5 Bitcoin and 10 Bitcoin. Then the generational wealth, the marquises, the marquise, 10 Bitcoin. Then the princes are between 10 Bitcoin and 15 Bitcoin. Then the dukes are between 50 Bitcoin and 100 Bitcoin. Then the kings are between 100 Bitcoin and 1,000 Bitcoin. And then the whale stack, the emperors, are at 1,000 Bitcoin. And then those two guys that used to be very popular. I don't know what they're called, with 10,000 Bitcoin or above.
Bogdanov twins.
I don't know how you know that, Opti, but yeah, so be
Dude,
it.
memes is life and life is memes.
Okay, so Opti just knows all the memes. So this is absolutely hilarious. This is Pepe the Frog, like kind of all over the place.
Well, to be clear though, Nico, this meme is pretty old though. Like I forget when this meme came around.
I got an update. I got an update for you guys. This is an old meme. So the update on Bitcoin Twitter right now is this one that was made recently. There's the debt slave, dust or no sats. Then there's the Bitcoin pleb with 0.01 Bitcoin or more. Then there's the Bitcoin soldier with 0.01 to 0.25 Bitcoin. Then there's the Bitcoin mercenary, 0.25 to 0.5 Bitcoin. I don't know what a Yeo man is, but I'll take it. Then there's the Bitcoin Yeo man, 0.5 to 1 Bitcoin. Then there's the Bitcoin knight, 1 to 3 Bitcoin. Then there's the Bitcoin baron, 3 to 10 Bitcoin. Then there's the Bitcoin lord, 10 to 20.99 Bitcoin. Then there's the Bitcoin king with 21 Bitcoin or above. So it's actually, Opti pointed out something really interesting, is as time progresses, the numbers kind of change in terms of what can be considered quote unquote generational wealth with hyper Bitcoinization, which I think is really interesting. Now, here's the Glassnode data, and this is something that Meester recently used in a presentation that he did at Bitcoin Commons, and it's a video that's actually on the Unchained channel right now if you guys want to check it out. And essentially the general gist of the video is that this category of Bitcoiners, so the fish, dolphin, shark, whale, and humpback, which consist of roughly 25,000 people that hold this amount of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin hits 1 million US dollars, they're now considered ultra high net worth individuals. So depending on who you ask, an ultra high net worth individual is someone with a net worth of between 30 to 50 million US dollars, right? And there's really not that many of these folks, right? So if Bitcoin reaches these levels, and I don't think it's a question of if, I think it's a question of when, there's going to be a large percentage of ultra high net worth individuals that are Bitcoiners, right? So I think the amount of influence that Bitcoiners are going to have on, on global affairs, I think is going to be a lot greater than it is now. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking in terms of what is kind of like the top of the food chain in fiat terms, right? So in fiat terms, the top of the food chain, a high net worth individual is someone who holds $1 million or more. Right now, that is only, like I said in the very beginning of the show, it's 59.4 million people. So roughly 60 to 50 million people around the world are considered millionaires. But think about how much Bitcoin there's only 21 million. So how much Bitcoin do you need to be, in the high net worth class today? You need roughly 15 Bitcoin. So 15 times 70,000 is roughly 1 million, which is interesting, right? Because if you go back to this study, the top 1% of Bitcoin holders, look at that, it's 15 Bitcoin. So could be a total coincidence, but I found that really, really fascinating. Anyways, so move forward, right? So, these are large amounts. $1 million is a lot of money, right? Money's completely relative. So, it really depends on your situation. Of course, how long have you been stacking, all of that stuff. And I always push people to Luke Broyles, I think he did an article or for Bitcoin Magazine, and he was basically making the case that if we're right about hyper Bitcoinization, and Bitcoin is this absolutely scarce commodity, this absolutely scarce asset, the amount of Bitcoin that you'd need to live a good life is a lot lower than you would think, right? But again, you have to kind of take that low time preference mentality. So he arrived to these numbers, and they're a lot different than these numbers over here from the 2017 report. And this is what I've been telling you, that as time progresses, it seems like the amount of Bitcoin required to be considered in the top kind of brackets seems to get a little bit lower. So according to Luke Broyles' is kind of like graph that he put together, to be in the top 1% with hyper Bitcoinization, it would only cost you about $2,000 today. To be in the top 10%, it would cost you 0.01 Bitcoin or roughly $200. To be in the top 50%, it would only cost you 0.0005. To be in the top 0.0% to top 0.01%, it costs you about 10 Bitcoin. So it's interesting how like these things change over time. But I know what a lot of you guys are thinking, right? A lot of you guys are thinking it's like, Nico, you know, I just want number to go up. Like this is like long-term thinking. You're showing me, holy cow, you know, these percentage terms, maybe I'm class of 2020, you know, I haven't been stacking, you know, for all these years, you know, okay, fine. I have something for you guys as well, which is the Cathie Wood predictions. And I wouldn't call it predictions. The estimates, I guess, is a nicer way of putting it. But she breaks it down into 3 different categories. So she has the bear case for 2030, which is roughly $258,000 per coin. Look, we're currently sitting at $70,000 in Bitcoin price. Okay. Do you think that in 6 years, Bitcoin isn't going to go from 70,000 to 258K? I mean, I would be extremely disappointed if that's all Bitcoin has reached by then. Then there's the base case, which I think is a little bit bearish now that we've reached these prices this quickly, is the $682,000 Bitcoin price. And then the bull case, which, by the way, she made an update on, and she said that that number is now significantly higher. She thinks now it's like roughly $2 million. Her bull case for 2030 is $1.5 million per coin, right? So I know a lot of you guys are thinking, I'm late, I'm this, I'm that. I mean, look, I think if you can get yourself to 1 Bitcoin, $1.48 million potentially is life-changing money. $682,000 is life-changing money. But I think just to go back to Luke Broyles' chart in terms of long-term thinking and in terms of the hyper Bitcoinization, the bull case, the epic famous Hal Finney prediction of the ultimate $10 million per coin. I think that we have to kind of zoom out sometimes. And we have to kind of remember that the people back in 2013, the people back in 2015, they thought they were late too. Like they thought they missed the boat. That's like one of the things I've heard this 1,000 times. It's like, oh my God, Bitcoin's at $100, Bitcoin's at $200, Bitcoin's at $300. And of course, from their position, looking back and seeing like people got this for $1 or $2, $10, it looks like it was late. But imagine being able to stack Bitcoin at $300. If I told you that today, you'd be like, you'd put everything you have into this thing. So I'm going to tell you the same thing. 10 years from now, I swear to God, I promise you, you're going to wish that you did everything in your power to be able to stack Bitcoin currently at 69,100. And no, I'm going to use the number from the Clark Booty dashboard in the very beginning of the show. You're going to wish that you stacked Bitcoin at $69,420, right? I've seen this happen 1,000 times. I thought I was late too. 2016, I was like, God damn, this sucks. I have to buy at these prices. But, looking back, I was like, holy crap, I wish I bought more, So this thing's going up forever. It's infinity divided by 21 million. I hope you guys found value in all these kind of like breakdowns. And I know that you guys like this content specifically when we cover this topic. Anyways, I'm going to pass it on to Brian. Brian, what are your thoughts? Do you think those reports are absolutely completely wrong? Do you think they're just guessing? Because there's really no way to know for sure. Like you kind of have to do a little bit of like blockchain analytics to kind of see, but you can do a little bit of math, right? You can divide 1,000 Bitcoin by 21 million and you can come up with a number. There's only so many people that could ever have this much Bitcoin. So I guess it's like following the Pareto principle a little bit, doing a little bit of guesses, a little bit of, educated guesses, I would say. So anyways, I want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think the sample size is large enough. You're dealing with hundreds of thousands of addresses. And so I think that you can make some general estimations on that. I think that's perfectly appropriate. Like you said, though, what that data means from 7 years ago isn't irrelevant today. It's just outdated. And so you continue to update that. Like you look at Luke Broyles, which was obviously far more accurate than the 2017 model, just because things have changed since then. I was just kind of running the numbers while you were talking. In the 2017 chart that you showed, the first one, Bitcoin was at $4,338 on the day that snapshot was taken, when you needed 10 Bitcoin. So for people who were like, man, I have 10 Bitcoin and that only puts me in the top 2%. I think people were like in the chat were kind of like, oh, I'm only a 2%er. I'm only a 10%er. Obviously they recognize that was 7 years ago. If you fast forward to today, so by that day's standard, that was to be in the top 2%, you would have $43,000 worth of Bitcoin. If you want to think in terms of dollar value today, those 10 Bitcoin are $694,000. That's a 16 times increase. And shockingly enough, to match 10 Bitcoin from 10 years or from 7 years ago, you need 0.625, exactly 0.625, which I find interesting, Bitcoin today to be that 2% number in terms of dollar value from 7 years ago. So it's wild to think that you needed to have 10 Bitcoin 7 years ago to be in the top 2%. Now that number is 0.625 Bitcoin to be at that same level. That's the power of Bitcoin. That is accurate in terms of, that makes a lot of sense to me. That number seems accurate today. That number seems accurate 7 years ago. And going back to that idea that people say you're lucky if you get into Bitcoin. If you can explain why you bought Bitcoin, you weren't lucky. It's like if you're playing golf and you hit a great shot and you adjusted for the wind and you adjusted for the fairway and you took all the variables into account and then still hit a great shot. Good for you. You hit a great shot. If you go out there, close your eyes and you just swing, then yeah, you got lucky. Maybe you started Bitcoin getting lucky, but today, if you can articulate why you're in Bitcoin, you're not lucky at all. So the Dave Portnoys of the world that are looking at these things and seeing, wow, the top 2%, the top 1%, the top 5.5% wealthiest people in the world, they're getting lucky. They're not. Everybody in the chat right now, anybody watching the show can articulate why they're in Bitcoin, and therefore you're not lucky for being here.
100%. And again, like I love the meme of like, you got lucky when you got into Bitcoin and then you're just like this like beat up like person because it is so true. And, you know, Brian, that appreciate you kind of running the numbers and stuff. And it reminds me of a very, very good American Hodl Nostr post that he posted. He posted a couple days ago, which I literally cannot find at the moment, which kind of sucks. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on this while I find the American Hodl post?
All right, great. Yeah, I mean, I really love Brian doing the numbers, running the numbers for us, because that was kind of what I was going to say as well. Like, I think the big trend from all of these numbers and everyone trying to do the research to try to figure out what an acceptable amount of Bitcoin you should be holding holds is that, like, it is changing in real time. And I'm really glad that Brian ran the numbers, because it just goes to show you the power of saving in something that cannot be debased. And I think the goal has always been the same. Anyone that first hears about Bitcoin or gets into Bitcoin, or at least this was true for me when I got into Bitcoin, the goal was always the same. Just try to get to one coin, try to hodl one coin. And then everyone, of course, adds some memes on top of it. Like, shouts out to hodl again, 6.15 for eternal riches. And if you've been around, you know the meme. But the goal has always been the same. Try to hold as much Bitcoin as you can get your hands on for as long as possible. This is why I have tried to create the meme of holding and saving in Bitcoin is playing Hungry Hippo. The game is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible for as long as possible. And what's the Sailor and Kaiser memes that it's like, he who holds the Bitcoin wins, he who acquires the most Bitcoins win. There's one game being played right now, and it's try to save as much Bitcoin as possible and hold that for as long as possible. And then just kind of adding on to what Brian was saying, which was another idea that I was kind of percolating on, is like, I know when you're looking at at these numbers, you're like, man, it like shames us into how small our stacks really are. Like, I know when Sailor stacks another 1,000 Bitcoin, you're like, man, like I really wish I could stack that much Bitcoin right now. And he's buying more Bitcoin than most of us will probably ever even imagine getting in our lifetimes. But I really like the, what's it called? The Bitcoin per person chart. It's like a website. You guys can Google it, Bitcoin per person. Of course, you know, not all things are ever going to be equal, but this makes you feel a little better about the stacks that we're holding when you realize, you know, if you divide 8 billion people divided by 21 million, I think the number right now is roughly around 240,000 sats. So if you can acquire even that, and of course, I kind of don't like using the framing because it does kind of go down the like collectivist path. But if all things were equal and every person on planet Earth held some Bitcoin today, then that holding would roughly be around 240,000 sats, which I don't know what the math is right now, but it can't be more than a couple $100 to get that exposure. And of course, maybe 70K right now for one Bitcoin is outside of most people's median incomes, and they might be out of reach for you. But the name of the game is still the same. Try to acquire as much Bitcoin as humanly possible. And then kind of flipping the script on its head a little bit. You know, I know we were talking about how much Bitcoin you need to be in the 1% of Bitcoin holders. But flipping that script a little bit, I think if you own Bitcoin today, you're already in the 1%. It's just a different 1%. You're in the 1% of the population that understands that Bitcoin is the superior money. And you can continue to stack Bitcoin while everyone else out there is calling you an idiot. Like, if you are saving in Bitcoin, in my opinion, you're already in the 1% of the population that holds Bitcoin. And I think that's going to be the true number moving forward. Again, the goal is to get off zero and accumulate as much of Bitcoin as possible. And as we're showing, and Brian running the numbers again, your life gets cheaper on Bitcoin. And that's the goal. Like, you never want to go back into the fiat system. You understand that, yeah, I want to spend my dollars and save in Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the hardest money, the best store of value the last 15 years. It is the only thing that isn't going to leak value through time and space. And this is why you want to be holding Bitcoin. Like I say it all the time. Once you know why you hodl, the hodl becomes easier and you realize all the games of the fiat world. And you're like, I don't want any part of that. I'm just going to save in Bitcoin. It's the best way to store my value. And then another thing that we always talk about too is the idea that there's around like 50 million millionaires in the world, 50 plus million millionaires in the world, and they can't all get a single Bitcoin. So that just goes to show that we really still don't understand what the 21 million hard cap of Bitcoin really means and the effects that will be, the effects that will have on society. So like if you hold a coin, maybe even half a coin, like you're already, in my opinion, one of the wealthier people on planet Earth. And if you're able to hold that going forward, then of course, anything you hold today is going to be generational wealth. And remember, guys, shouts out to our boy CK Snarks. 32 sats is generational wealth. So like what you're holding today is going to eventually be a whole block reward from the Bitcoin network. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think you guys fully understand what that means. What's the block reward today? It's 6.25. It's going to get cut in half, and it's going to continue to get cut in half for 4 years. And just understand how much economic value is being compacted into that block reward of Bitcoin every 10 minutes. And if you can hold, even a block reward, 10, 20, 30 years down the road, like you got to flip your operating system here and realize, oh my God, like 32 sats might actually be generational wealth when you understand that is going to be the amount of capital to secure the Bitcoin network every 10 minutes. So like, I really think we underestimate the true value of Bitcoin. But of course, the name of the game is still the same. Try to get as much Bitcoin as humanly possible, take it into cold storage, continue to stack sats every single day or week or month or whatever you can. The game never stops. It's Hungry Hippo with Bitcoin. Hold as much as humanly possible.
Bars. Okay, so before we get onto the culture to talk to Brian, I do want to read the American Hodl Nostr post. It says, thinking it's too late for you to get into Bitcoin is an illusion of ego. Sure, you didn't get in at $6 or even 6,000, and others who did are higher status than you. But that's aside, that's your ego fucking with you. This isn't about pride, it's about money. We're still early in Bitcoin's story. 66,000. Mind you, it's at 69 now. 66,000 is still cheap, believe it or not. We have 100x left to go at minimum. Your ego is not your amigo. It's trying to keep you from riches. Do not listen to it. And I think that's an epic post from American Hodl. And, jump on the train or get left behind. All right, everybody, let's get to the culture.
The Daily Culture.
All right, everybody, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Racks. They're the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. You can check out their racks by scanning the QR code on your screen right now. Check the link in the video description. It'll take you directly to the Kaboom Racks Telegram marketplace. You can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You could also sell your mining equipment with them. Access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with Kaboom Racks. So what are you waiting for? Scan the QR code. Check the link in the video description. This is where I personally buy my Bitcoin mining ASICs. Check out Kaboom Racks today. All right, we have a very special guest with us today. We have Brian DeMint. He's also a jiu-jitsu master, and he will F you up on the mat.
Do not test him to a fight. And also, he's 7 feet tall. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, this is the ultimate Chad meme without the beard. This is Brian DeMint. Anyways, Brian, let's talk about your book. Then let's talk about the Orange Pill app. You just released this. You had a signing, a book signing at Bitcoin Atlantis, and this is Brian DeMint with Knut Svanholm and Daniel Prince. The name of the book is called Parallel: The Bitcoin Social Layer. First of all, what inspired you to write this? Why did you want to write it? And I'm grateful. I got copy number 17 out of 60. I got a scarce copy, everybody. Ha. What inspired you to write this, and what is this book about?
Well, I mean, honestly, what inspired me was when I bought Bitcoin. This month or next month marks the 10-year anniversary of the first Sats that I bought. I remember telling my wife, and she kind of got orange pilled a little bit at the same time. She was along for the journey with me, and she goes, "Well," and I remember telling her, "Hey, Bitcoin's going to go to $10,000 someday. We're not selling, just so you know. Like that's the strategy here. We're going to continue to hold even when it hits this 10." And that sounded crazy because it was $270 a coin back then. And she goes, "Okay, then like when will we sell?" I said, "I know exactly when we're going to sell. We will sell our Bitcoin or some of it when we can buy things with it. That will always be our cash out, not an exit strategy, because we will never exit. Our savings will always be in Bitcoin. I knew this even back then, but our spending will be in Bitcoin." I didn't even call it Sats. I just called it pieces of Bitcoin at that time. Like that was how new I was to Bitcoin. And it wasn't, you didn't talk about Sats back then. Like we're just starting to use Sats in terms of the transactional, like the term existed, but in terms of people thinking about it, we talked about 0.001 Bitcoin and things like that at the time. So this idea of spending it was always on my heart. And honestly, the title of the Bitcoin white paper is very relevant. Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Like Satoshi had a specific intent. And now just because Satoshi said something doesn't mean that that's what we have to do. If you want to use Bitcoin as superior savings and you just want to store your family's wealth and pass it from generation to generation, by all means do that. But I think Satoshi's intent was for you and I to transact the goods and services that one of us provides for the other. That would be a beautiful thing if we didn't have a middleman between that transaction. And I think it's kind of sad that we live in an era where we have a money that we don't require any third party to be in between us to transact. And yet we still opt into a system where we pay a little bit off the top for Visa and MasterCard, or we pay a little off the top for an ACH transfer through our bank. We still seek out middlemen. And again, I'm not perfect. I'm myself trying to move towards a Bitcoin standard in my expenses. I buy more things in Bitcoin, but I still do. There's still plenty of purchases I make through the traditional payment rails. But it is one of those things. You think about it. We live in an era where we can opt into that better system as pretty much as often as we want. There's people out there for almost every good or service that you want. You might have to do a little bit of digging. You might have to do a little bit of searching. but there's people who do want to sell you what you need, and they're willing to take Bitcoin for it. And so I think that it's sad that those people exist. We have a money that enables that, but yet the idea hasn't really seemed to permeate throughout Bitcoin, because I think so many people think, well, there's just not people out there that accept Bitcoin. Or we even maybe sometimes buy into the mainstream narratives because we hear CNBC anchors talking about you can't buy your coffee in Bitcoin. Again, that's a lie. We have people on Orange Pill app, the Mukana coffee guy, who we did a Twitter space the other day. He goes, that drives me crazy every time I hear that, because this is what he was saying. He goes, I own a coffee shop where we accept Bitcoin. So I can verifiably say that that's a lie. And so it's one of those things where it's not true that you can't support your life or sustain your life in Bitcoin. It is actually a fact that you can do it if you do some digging. If you look around on the internet, or you look around and try to find local places, you can do that. It's just that I don't think that it's a common knowledge yet. And so that's the hope of the book. I believe that Parallel is the start of a third wave of books. Now it's not because I'm anything special. Obviously, Knut and Daniel Prince, those are some special guys, my co-authors. But I think that that's the maturation of Bitcoin. We've been talking about the maturation of Bitcoin price or Bitcoin buying power. Well, what about the maturation of Bitcoin ideas and books? The first wave, the first generation was your von Mises and your Rothbards and those types of guys. The pre-Bitcoin books that were the Liberty Principles, the Sovereign Individual, that type of literature that existed and helped create Bitcoin. And then there was the second wave. There's the Bitcoin Standard, and there's Broken Money, and all these fantastic books. I wrote Bitcoin Evangelism. It's in that kind of same vein, where it's about trying to understand Bitcoin. Okay, so there was the pre-Bitcoin books, and now there's the here's how you understand Bitcoin books, and now we're starting to see the third wave, and that's the wave where it's, what do we do with Bitcoin? We understand it. Obviously, the second wave of books still needs to exist, because there's still millions and millions of people that need to be orange pilled, or billions of people that need to be orange pilled. So those are going to continue to exist. Just like we still read Rothbard, we still read von Mises, we still read the Sovereign Individual. Those books are always going to be important, but now we have a third generation of books that are coming online, and there's other authors that are coming out with similar stuff that's pushing and advocating for the use of Bitcoin and the creation of the parallel economy. I think that's the biggest idea in Bitcoin. It's bigger than Bitcoin ETFs. It's bigger than Bitcoin as gold. And I'm going to make a statement right here that I think is absolutely true. I think the difference between your buying power in Bitcoin today versus when we get to hyper Bitcoinization, that's going to be a bigger jump than the guys who got in 2010 and bought Bitcoin for a penny or 10 cents. I actually think you're going to get a greater appreciation on your buying power at hyper Bitcoinization than the people, the OGs. So, I mean, it kind of fits into what we were talking about today. Oh man, I wish I would have been able to buy 7,500 Bitcoin for $5 or whatever it was, or for $10. I actually think whatever value you buy in Bitcoin, it's actually going to appreciate more. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but let me just throw this one little stat at you. Every currency, every Bitcoin, and by the way, every Bitcoiner, I think, agrees that fiat currencies only end in hyperinflation, right? Well, what happens to a currency when it goes to hyperinflation? You tend to get to where the smallest unit is a $1 trillion or a multiple $1 trillion note. Weimar Germany, the Austrian inflation, the Hungarian inflation, the Nigerian inflation, Zimbabwe inflation, they always get to trillion mark notes, the trillion note. If the dollar ever gets to $1 trillion note, that means the Bitcoin, like an entire Bitcoin, $69,000, will actually have the equivalent value of less than a penny. So every dollar you spend right now is actually going to increase more than had you bought Bitcoin for a penny 12 years ago. And so I know that's a sensational statement, but right now we're at, I would guess, less than an actual adoption of less than 1% of the world has truly adopted Bitcoin. Why do we think that that's the vast majority? Why do we think there's only a 10x increase in the buying power of Bitcoin when 1% of the world's adopted it? There's still 99% to go. 1%'s gotten us to this point. What happens when you get to 2%? What happens when you get to 3%? I actually think we're going to see a much, much greater buying power appreciation because of the development of the parallel economy and everything that comes with it.
Love it, Brian.
Wait,
everyone's
guys.
saying he's the leader of the Bulltard Bros. Let's go. $100 trillion Bitcoin coming here soon. You heard it here first from Brian.
You guys,
man.
if you want more information on what Brian was talking about, check out Parallel, the Bitcoin social layer. It has everything what Brian was just talking about and more. You have to go check out this book.
I want to add something then, Nico, before you go too far.
I'm showing it off. I got mine signed.
Yeah, Brian said something that I wanted to say in the last bit, and it's exactly what he just said about like maybe we're at 1% of the population adopting Bitcoin, but like go outside. I know you Bitcoiners don't go outside and you don't talk to normies anymore, but like if you do go outside and talk to normies and you ask them about Bitcoin, most people that you come in contact with, they're like, oh, you're a Bitcoiner, like you're stupid. And you're not, I don't know, this Bitcoin is for criminals. And it's like, just have conversations with people and you will get the idea that you're still early. And this should get you even more hyped to stack Bitcoin. Anyways, sorry, tangent. Brian, there was something we wanted to talk about before. There might be a Simply Bitcoin nod in the Parallel book.
Absolutely. So I'm a viewer of the show. I mean, like if you guys are in the comments or the chat, like you're usually seeing me in the comments of the chat. I love Simply Bitcoin. Like this is my favorite morning show. I was just talking to, I actually had a meetup with a guy from Orange Pill app. He met me at one of my stores yesterday. Dude, Ryan, he has a startup YouTube channel himself, 100 trillion. Go check it out. But we were just talking about this yesterday. Is like how great of a show. Like Simply Bitcoin's one of those shows that you can sit down and watch it. Or sometimes if I'm just working, it's like a show that's on in the background, because like as soon as the intro song hits, it just gets you pumped. You guys always bring a good energy, and it's like that's what we need in the Bitcoin community. And so I was like honored. I actually asked you guys if I can name one of the chapters after one of your guys' famous sayings, and you guys were more than gracious to do so. But the first half of the book is about the bad news. You can never understand the good news or the promise of the new system unless you understand the old system. And I don't rehash a lot of the things that you're going to read in other books about what's broken with the fiat system. We kind of take a new approach of how the propaganda leads us down into the fiat system that we're in right now. And so chapter 5 is called how to make yourself resistant to the tools of the puppet masters. And it goes through a list of how propaganda is used to create the fiat social layer. So not what is the fiat social layer, but how is it developed in a society? Why would a society ever adopt it? But when you have a tightly wound mess like the fiat social layer, it begs the question, how do you unwind that? And the answer is you do it through a propaganda machine of your own. You do it through mimetic warfare. And so chapter 6 of the book is about unwinding the propaganda of the fiat social layer. And it's perfectly called, I'll say it because it's not my phrase, it's perfectly called Tweets Are the Bullets and Memes Are the Artillery. And you guys say that all the time, and it's absolutely true. And why that's so important to me is because the best ammunition I use for orange pilling people is not always great, witty arguments or really in-depth, long explanations. It's a meme. And when I just send a meme to my family members, and it's just, the best thing you can do is send a meme and don't say anything. Just let it percolate, let it happen. And the amount of understanding, the amount of questions that come out of that is amazing. And so, yeah, I mean, that's how we start to unwind the fiat social layer, is through positive programming, right? And not all propaganda is bad. Not all programming is bad, because what memes do is they don't teach you what to think. They teach you how to think, right? They teach you how to ask questions. But the fiat social layer, their propaganda machine is all, you need to do this. What the education system trains you to think. You think this way. The media teaches you, you are supposed to be offended by this. What the fiat or what the Bitcoin social layer does is it enriches you with information. It presents you with a fact and then tells you to ask a question about it. That's exactly what memes do. And that's why Bitcoiners are so high signal. And it's so rich and rewarding to be surrounded by them. That's actually part of the reason why I work at Orange Pill app, because I find the Bitcoin community as one of the most important elements of Bitcoin. That's what we call it, the Bitcoin social layer. It's the Bitcoin social layer. Bitcoin is the people, and without the people, Bitcoin falls apart. So continuing to foster and enrich that community is one of the most important things you can do in Bitcoin.
Love it,
100%.
Brian. Love it. And really appreciate the kind words, bro.
And
Anyways,
we're honored, man. We're honored to be included in in this book, man.
All right, but let's pivot the conversation a little bit. You mentioned Orange Pill app. We got a great comment in here by Keith. He said the Orange Pill app got me in touch with a monthly meetup that has been going strong almost a year. So let's talk Orange Pill app. For those that don't know what Orange Pill app, let's start there, and then maybe you can tell us what's on the roadmap for you guys this year.
Yeah, it's really simple. Orange Pill app is all about meeting other Bitcoiners in real life. So we have great tools. We have Twitter, we have Nostr, you can use Facebook, whatever you want to use for your online community. That's fantastic. That's how Bitcoin's gotten to where it is today, because there's an online presence. That's part of the resistance, right? If the tyrants ever want to come down on Bitcoin, then yes, the more connections you have with other Bitcoiners, the better. But at the end of the day, the most censorship resistant type of connection you can have is an in real life connection. Because if they cut the power off to your internet, then you always have the option to walk down the street and hang out with your buddy who you know in person. And so we see that as a critical element of making the Bitcoin community anti-fragile. And not everybody's thinking about it from a like, let's wage war on the existing system. Some people just want to have a good Bitcoin conversation. And that's most of what's happening. People are just getting on the app. We've designed the app. I didn't. The brilliant devs and Mateo designed the app, but it doesn't have a feed. It's all about getting in there, talking to another Bitcoiner with a message, and then setting up a meetup or going to an event or finding a local Bitcoin merchant that's in real life that you can go and spend your sats at that day. So everything is revolved around not getting into the app so that you're doom scrolling and you're seeing ads, because we don't sell your data. We don't have ads or anything like that. It's all about person-to-person connection. Our goal is for you to use the app for 15 seconds a day. Boom, go in, send a message, read a message, communicate, and then go meet another Bitcoiner. If you've ever been to a Bitcoin conference, which I know you guys have, I mean, I've seen you guys at a few of them, but if most Bitcoiners haven't, I was in Bitcoin for a long time before I ever went to a Bitcoin conference or a meetup or anything like that. Guys, it is so enriching and rewarding to do that, because you instantly have a connection with other Bitcoiners. And it's different when you can look somebody in the eye and you can shake their hand. And those are the people that you will continue to have a little extra relationship with, just because of the fact that you know them in person. And now it's like not as awkward to tell your wife that, hey, I'm going out to hang out with my buddy. And it's like, oh, it's like a real person, right? It's not just some dude that you talk to online. Like there's an actual, real, legitimate aspect to that connection. And we need that in Bitcoin. It's absolutely critical for an in real life component for Bitcoin to exist. And so that's why we exist, is to facilitate that.
100%, guys. You need to actually interact and meet space. Like meet space is a thing. It's real. The sun is good for you. And it's good to talk to other human beings in the flesh, in real life. And and I'll just explain my personal story with the Orange Pill app, because I think I'm 100% positive other Bitcoiners have experienced this before. Good friends with Sal, and he helps me like train and stuff and like lift weights, and he's like, dude, like we connected via the Orange Pill app. But one of the best stories originally was Mateo, the founder, and we connected over, and he's like, somehow we were just like, dude, like you're coming to Miami for the conference, whatever. And like something like led to another, and I was like, do you need a place to stay? Like I have my couch, bro. Like, and like we don't really know each other, but I know he's a Bitcoiner. Like I know of the Orange Pill app. And he's like, yeah, sure. So like spontaneously, we've never met each other in real life, whatever. He shows up to my apartment coming back from his flight at like 1 a.m. And like, it's kind of dark. So like, I don't really see his face. We like have the conversation. In the morning, he's just gone. And, that happened all via the Orange Pill app. And then what I didn't know is that Brian apparently picked him up the next morning from my apartment on Miami Beach. And I was just like, what? Like, this is such like kind of like a Bitcoiner-esque story. Because imagine this would never happen in any other social media app. Like you'd be sketched the F out. You'd be like, this is weird, but I felt comfortable, and I was like, okay, this is Mateo. This is, Orange Pill app, like I feel comfortable with this. And that's one of the things that what I like about your guys' app is the aspect of you're not going to find any shitcoiners on there. So like you guys have developed some type of filter that I feel comfortable, like, and I'm telling you this from experience, like, and I get messages all the time like, hey, Nico, you know, I like the show. I like Simply Bitcoin. I want to connect. I have not gotten one message. I'm not exaggerating. Or it's someone like a Twitter DM, you know, the Twitter DMs where it's like unfollowed people and you go into that and it's like, you know, it's absolutely atrocious. You don't have that experience whatsoever on the Orange Pill app. I only interact and I only get messages from Bitcoiners, and I actually take the time to go one by one and respond to them, which is something that I don't do on Twitter because there's just, you know, it's just flooded with garbage. So how did you guys do that? Like, how did you guys pull that off? How did you guys pull off that user experience? Because that's something that I want the audience to understand. When you're on the Orange Pill app, you're connecting with other Bitcoiners, and my personal experience with the app is that's the only thing I've ever witnessed myself.
Yeah, and you're right. That's one of the core competencies of Orange Pill. That's the advantage we have in the marketplace, and I'll get into why that is in a second. But you think about where are things heading? I mean, is AI a year from now going to be more prevalent or less prevalent? Like, are bots and programmatic accounts on social media, are they going to be more or less prevalent a year from now, 2 years from now? It's obvious that they're going to be more prevalent. There's going to be, I believe that this next like epoch of human history is going to be about determining the difference between what's real and fake. I mean, it's going to get to the point where any communication that's purely online, you just won't know if that is a person on the other end of it, or if it's a bot, if it's an AGI or something like that. You just won't know. The one source of validation that you will always have is if you've shook that person's hand before, if you've met in real life, if you sat across the table from them, if you shared a meaningful life experience, you will know that person, that account, the other. And so even if that relationship goes back online, you will have a verification. The blue check mark is becoming irrelevant, right? Like, that's not a way for people to necessarily know, because there's the Twitter algorithm is now giving blue check marks to accounts based on a certain amount of blue check mark followers that you have. So the paywall that Twitter created, they're kind of eroding that business model, where that actually was a smart idea. Elon, I think, probably seeing Orange Pill app, adopted Orange Pill app's model. That's the brilliance of when Matteo started this. Nobody's crazy enough, except for this Italian dude, to create a social network where it starts with a paywall. Why would you start with a paywall? The answer is simple: because Bitcoiners understand value for value. Bitcoiners don't want their data sold. They don't want to work with a company that says their service is free when actually it isn't. It's a few bucks a month to be on Orange Pill app. What that does is ensure that, like Nico said, you don't get DMs from pretty Asian girls who are asking how your crypto trading's going. I'm sorry, it just doesn't happen. If you think those are real people, then please stay on Twitter and enjoy yourself. That's great. But if you want signal, you come over to Orange Pill app and you'll actually have good conversations online, but it'll always leave you wanting a little bit more. And so then you meet up with people. One of the biggest tools I like to use Orange Pill app for is, now that I'm starting to work in the Bitcoin industry and going to conferences and things like that, it really helps you kind of organize before you get to the conference, right? Like, you can do a group chat with like, who's going to Bitcoin Nashville? Okay, like, I can talk to those people. If you get into town 2 days early, what are you going to do when the conference hasn't started? Well, guess what? You can connect with Bitcoiners because you know who's in that area. And so the paywall and the fact that it's a Bitcoin only app does the filtering for us. Now, if a bad actor ever enters the app, then obviously we have the ability to kind of take care of that. But the community is kind of like a closed loop, in the sense that people don't want to enter that because it does not pay to be a spammer in the app. If somebody paid to enter the app and then spammed even one user, that one user is going to report them right away. And so thank you very much. You just paid to get your account taken out because you're a fake user. You're a zero value adding user. And so still, even the fact that there's a paywall, I think can kind of bug people sometimes because they say, oh, well, Bitcoiners should be about giving to the community. The best thing we can do is have a paywall. It's not for us. It's literally for the user experience. Because if you run the numbers, we did this, Twitter on average sells $9 to $12 of user data every single month. If you're on Facebook, it's even worse. It's like $29 to $32 of user data per month. So it's like, what's the real cost of those networks? It's much, much more than what you would pay to get on Orange Pill app. And at least with Orange Pill app, you're in control, because when something's free, you're the product. But when you pay for something, it's the product. So we're your product. You get to use our service as you want. And if your goal is to meet other Bitcoiners, then that's exactly what you're going to get.
100%. And I completely agree. It's a feature, not a bug. I saw an amazing comment. Here it is. The join with Bitcoin feature is the ultimate spam filter, right? So I completely agree with that 100%. Guys, check out the Orange Pill app. We're officially partnering up with them again, starting on Monday, April 1st. And we're really excited because the social layer of Bitcoin is extremely important. Building, not only a kind of Bitcoin circular economy, but we have to understand, especially after today's episode and the theme, with the numbers and all that stuff, Bitcoiners are going to be some of the most influential people on the face of the planet within the decade. And after the next couple of decades, like, how like the Contailer Conference and they all go to, the World Economic Forum and whatever. And those are the world elites. I hate that fucking word, but I cursed. Okay. Yeah. Those are the elites of today's, world and all that stuff. Yeah. Well, I think, and I hate using the word elite. I think it's stupid, but I think some of the most powerful, influential people on the face of the planet in the next 10 to 20 years are going to be Bitcoiners. So build, stack friends who stack sats. Like, it's as simple as that, right? It is the Friday show. So I know Opti, you got 2 meme reviews this week. Okay. So we have the meme reviews still to go. And it's going to be great. But before we get into that, guys, we have 1,700 people watching between YouTube and Twitter, and about 42 of you guys watching us on Rumble. So if you guys are enjoying the show, make sure to smash the like button. It tells the algos to push the show forward. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the meme review. We got some memes to review.
Opti's Friday meme review.
I don't know, man. I kind of want Sophie's voice to do that, to be honest.
I was just about to say my voice is so sultry, Anyways, you're the one that said I do it, but yeah, Sophie needs to record some stuff first. But that's a totally we'll do some we won't do on-air business conversations anymore. All right, guys, this is the meme review, Friday meme review, and you already know the deal. Brian gave us a nod to it. Tweet to the bullets. Memes are the artillery. You are frontline soldiers in this information war. Continue to get the calls of action out there. Continue to ridicule the corporate press and all the institutions out there that are fiat minded. And of course, make sure you make some funnies so your friends' heads stay in the game. Ridicule your family with memes. I actually, one other thing, as Brian was saying, I think Bitcoin memes are going to be even more important moving into 2024 and 2025 because, again, we have the truth on our side and life is memes and memes is life. So continue to spread the memes, continue to plant those seeds of freedom money into the minds of your friends and family. And of course, you can tag me on Twitter at simplybitcointv or drop them in our Telegram group. But tag me in the Telegram group because it's getting kind of wild in there. Or my personal one, but don't my personal one.
Group chat on the Orange Pill app. It's the Simply Bitcoin group chat, and you can bother Opti there, and
tag me in there.
Tag us there. So go, guys, join the Simply Bitcoin group chat on the Orange Pill app. I'm way more responsive there than anywhere else if you guys want to reach me directly. So join
All
me
right.
right
Well,
now.
consensus is they need Sophie to redo the transition. All right, guys. Anyways, first meme is by the legendary memer himself, Bitstein. If you don't know Bitstein, guys, he basically created all of the memes with his buddy Pierre Rochard, who's another legendary memer. But I really like this one. Here we got Bitstein. He goes, "The boomers are coming. The boomers are coming." And of course, we got Paul Revere running through the villages and the cities, telling people that the British are coming. But we mixed the meme up. The boomers are coming. The boomers are here, and they seem to love Bitcoin. So you just love to see it. Okay, next one is by my boy Nick Can't Mine, and this one's hilarious. He goes, "Bitcoin short sellers versus institutional demand for Bitcoin," and it's a guy with a shotgun shooting a tsunami wave.
Dude, Nick has the algos, bro.
Dude, Nick's got the algos. Young Nick with the algos. All right, next one is by the BTC therapist. Shouts out to the therapist. And he goes, E, all of the above. And this is, man, how am I blanking? Jeopardy. We got Michael Saylor on Jeopardy. And he goes, Bitcoin is A, going to 100K, B, going to 250K, or C, going to 500K, or D, going up forever. And the therapist goes, it's E, all of the above. It's going up forever, Laura. This is the way. Okay, next one is by Vikingo. And I really like the topic today because this is a culmination of what we're talking about when we tell you all that really matters is you stacking Bitcoin. And we got Bugs Bunny here with, his fiat money, his dollars. And Vikingo just goes, hashtag BTC. And he goes, I would like to exchange all this garbage for some Bitcoin, please. Yes. The dollars in your wallet, if you still have fiat money, if you're not completely cashless, and even then, it's even worthless, more garbage. It's garbage, guys. It's paper IOUs, it's debt, it's melting ice cubes. You want to hold the hardest money in the world, and it's Bitcoin. Okay, this next one is RDBTC, and he just goes breaking. And I'm sure you guys all saw the Baltimore Bridge collapse, and what? I'm not even going to go there. Anyways. We have the boat collapsing into the bridge, and the boat is Bitcoin, and the collapsing bridge is the central banks. On that note, I really like the Bitcoiners that are basically saying, like, dude, this is like just Atlas Shrugged playing out in real time, the incompetence of the fiat world. Anyways, a rant for another day. Next, we got Sovereign Individual, aka at Sovereign Indy 10, and he goes every single time. And we got the classic picture of the kid with like the veins protruding and he's in class, but he's got laser eyes. And it goes, me when she mentions her grocery, rent, and energy bills have gone up recently. Yes, inflation is not going away, guys. So you need to stack in Bitcoin. And this one, I just love it. Shouts out to NY Hodl. This is the go. And he goes crypto versus Bitcoin. And we got, man, what was her name? The FTX girl, Caroline something. And that's crypto. And then we got Sydney Sweeney as Bitcoin. Sydney's a new icon on the internet. This is the way, man. Do not buy crypto. You stack sats. Anyways, drop your meme review score in the chat as we cover ours live. And we'll get to our scores. I'm going to go first on this one, Nico. I'm going to give it this Creed greatest halftime show ever. Because can you take me higher? We're going up forever, Laura. This is why, actually, shouts out to Ben Justman, Peony Lane, Wines. But Creed Take Me Higher is not this cycle's Bitcoin song. I'm wearing this as a troll. I don't actually really like Creed. I just thought it was hilarious if I got the t-shirt.
We should leave the singing to Sophie.
Can you take me higher? Dude, that was pitch.
All right, so it's going to be me and Brian for the rest of today's show.
I promise I will not sing.
Oh man, I'm just kidding. Opti, I that was great. That was good. A for effort. A for effort. I'm going to give it a Bitcoin evangelism.
Ooh, that's high praise.
Is this one signed? I think it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, they're all signed.
Yeah, that was the gold pen. That was the good stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna give it going back to our earlier part of the conversation. I'm gonna give it a 7-year-old or 6-year-old used iPhone 10 stacking sats because I don't got time to upgrade.
Dude, yes.
Hold on.
Now listen! That's called motherfucking
All right, everybody. If you are new to the show, make sure to drop your meme score in the live chat, and we will get to it. But do it quickly because we will run out of time. So, Opti, cue the epic music. All right, first meme score by Rich BC. Meme score: Opti making Christine Lagarde sign a prenup.
No prenups, dude. I'm trying to get the bag. Come on, bro.
Okay, and
I think it's lagging a little bit.
yeah, it's totally lagging. We have to tell people beforehand, bro.
I did.
You know, they're saying that you are going to be the rich one in that relationship. That's why you're having her sign a prenup.
This is true. I get it.
She wants your Bitcoin.
I get it now, but I'm trying to get the bag this year.
All right, BTC Truth score $1 backed by Sats. All right, good score.
We do got one. All right, Elaine.
Elaine, in the old days when knights were bold before Bitcoin was invented, many died and poets cried because nothing rhymes with orange. Ooh. All right, we got a score by Phil. Phil C. I give these memes day one of the Bitcoin revolution. All right, and we ran out of time.
Wait, I got an honorable mention here by Visnot.
Opti is the revolution. Self-custody is just nice. Oh man.
Let me see if there went on Rumble. No, everyone's sleeping today. All right,
Dude,
all right.
everyone's sleeping, bro. We have like 2,000 people. And
all right, guys. Every Friday when I do the meme review, drop your meme review score.
They forgot, bro.
Dude,
when we were smaller, we used to get fucking inundated. Now it's because we stopped. We stopped.
Oh, wait, one more. Well, let's go
one more. We got one more.
Man, this is bad.
I give these memes Opti and Christine opening up their relationship to Augustine Carson.
We're going to need a bigger bed.
And of course, I did not mention the bed. No, this is. I'm talking about like a social relationship. Not sure. Opti just has.
Me too. 100%.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash the like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. I want to give a very special shout out to Brian DeMint, author of Bitcoin Evangelism, Parallel the Bitcoin Social Layer, and the genius behind Orange Pill's marketing strategy. Brian, thank you so much for joining us today on Simply Bitcoin. Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, my friend. The Parallel pre-sale live on Amazon right now. There's a 1 million sat Bitcoin wallet hidden in the book. Go find it.
That's right, guys. 1 million sats hidden in the book. Go check out Parallel the Bitcoin Social Layer on Amazon today. Thanks, Brian. All right, guys. Smash the like button. Consider subscribing. Enjoy your weekend. Have a great time. But remember, guys, the number one thing you can do to help push the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, share Bitcoin content. That includes Bitcoin books, Bitcoin art, Bitcoin songs, Bitcoin music. That's how we take over the culture. We take over the culture, we win, right? So share Bitcoin everything, anything that you'd like. It's Bitcoin art, Bitcoin music, anything you want. Just share it. That's how we win. All right, love you guys. Have an amazing weekend. And I'll be streaming. No. I'll still be in Miami Monday, but on Tuesday I'll be streaming live from El Salvador. All right, peace out, everybody.
Episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.